Okay, we're going to call to order the meeting of the Sanford City Commission and work session on Monday, March 9th, 2026.
Mic's on?
First item is discussion of golf carts. Mr. Bonaparte.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission, this is a continued discussion of golf carts, and with that I have Chief Smith.
Is Victoria here?
Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, citizens. What we did was we posted up the golf cart map. As many of you know, there's been a number of conversations based on making changes to the map. The mayor and I had sat down and discussed creating a new crossover at Mellonville and 11th to allow vehicles to get over to the baseball stadium. We've had the request fulfilled with regards to having someone do a ride-along with Ms. Huggins. That was Sergeant Smart. We were able to remove a couple of golf cart signs that were put in place where changes were needed. As for making the map a little more interactive, we're working with Bob Keegan and Elizabeth Jones to get an interactive, possibly GSI mapping system that's in place. One of the concerns and questions was that you could not see the map. As the map that I put on your desk in front of you, you can clearly see each of the streets, and if you need to enlarge or expand that, you can use your cell phone and or your computer to make the streets more viable for a person to see. One of the questions came up, concern was the need for insurance. The ordinance now essentially says that it's recommended, it's not mandatory, but I will leave that up to the commission to make a decision if you wish to make that something that's mandatory. I think one of the questions that would be at hand is those who are already registered, do you go backwards to require them to have insurance at that time, or do you move it to the next registration period where you can make or require to have insurance on the vehicles? While going through, the recommendations from our department was not to expand or extend the golf course mapping of locations beyond the present setting, but again, we will leave that up to the commission and make the determination if that's something that you wish for us to do. Changes in the ordinance itself, be working with code, Tony's here, to make any additional changes or recommendations from the commission with regards to moving forward with that. One of the other things I wanted to bring to your attention, I'm not sure if it will put that other one up, is that we did a study to determine how many golf carts are actually, vehicles that are actually moving up and down Mellonville. So our study showed that on an average, there's up to 5,000 to 5,500 cars that either enter point or make that left-hand turn or right-hand turn to go north on Mellonville. The common theme and question for us was, do we allow golf carts on Mellonville Avenue? I would say absolutely not. No more than we already have golf carts crossing that area, but to put cars in that area, moving at the speed in that area, would be somewhat dangerous. And the amount of cars that are making that turn from onto Mellonville, from our study of about 5,000 to 5,500 a day that are making that turn. So even though the speeds may look at 25 miles an hour, as the mayor and I have gotten a number of emails from citizens who live on Mellonville who are asking for the speed limit to either be changed or some other modifications to be made to Mellonville. At this point, I would not recommend that we allow any golf carts on that area except for the areas that we have already identified where there are crossings. With that, I'll leave it up to you if you have any questions.
Yeah, Chief, can you talk about Mellonville from the lakefront to 2nd Street? Is that a possibility to open?
Again, sir, you know, as soon as we continuously open up and open up and open up these areas, you're going to create some issues. And anyone can get from, once you're into the Georgetown area, you're into that area right there, Mayfair, you have the ability to move all over the downtown area. But again, we work at the discretion of the commission. If that is something that you choose to have happen, we'll have to make the changes in the ordinance and make the changes within the mapping.
Okay. And also, just before the meeting, we had a conversation that we would add the yellow crossing markers on the map on 8th Street.
Correct.
So it'll match the rest of the streets that you're not allowed to drive on. So you are allowed to cross there.
We'll add those signs as well.
Okay, so if I'm moving into Sanford and I have a golf cart and I don't have access to any of you all, the best way I'm looking at this is everything that's in this district, every road that's mentioned here, I'm allowed to drive on except the red lines. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and then all of the yellow little dots are where you can cross over a prohibited street, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, it's easy for us to understand it because we've created the map and we've talked about it, but if this is my first time, I don't know that, okay, I can use every one of these streets. So I don't know if that needs to be listed here.
Yeah, I do think it would add clarity to, in the legend, put golf cart crossing on prohibited streets.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously you can cross in a lot of other places, on the streets you can drive on.
We can update the legend to read that.
And Mayor, you asked about just that tiny piece of Mellonville. That's because that's probably the most inconvenient part of Mellonville if you can't.
Well, it's really not that big of an issue because, it gets you from Seminole Boulevard
Yeah,
into Mayfair.
from the riverfront.
But if you come back to San Juan, you just don't go that last piece of the Riverwalk.
Mhm.
You can get to 2nd Street and get across.
So,
So, and the people that would be there would quickly learn that that's the route to take.
if I'm on Mellonville, if I'm going to the Tim Raines Sports Complex, I can't drive on Mellonville. There is a golf cart crossing, but does that mean I then drive on the sidewalk?
You can use the path. The path runs right next to it.
What path?
Next to the baseball stadium, between the road and the stadium, there is a path that's right there.
Okay, so
Also, you would have that up. Sorry, ma'am.
I'm sorry, Chief.
You'd also have that ability to go through Hamilton Mills Elementary.
Okay, so we need to do, and this is not any complaints, Chief. I just want to make it as easy as possible for golf cart riders to understand. Because off of my memory, and I've been living here forever, I don't remember a path. And not saying that it's not one there. But when you're saying the path, you're talking about the sidewalk that the county has expanded. Is that
Correct.
what you're speaking of?
Yes, ma'am.
So basically, that's the sidewalk. So they need to know that they are then allowed to drive on the sidewalk?
They're allowed to use that short path right there in order to get to the baseball stadium. Again, if they come completely across there, you come up to the back end of the elementary school, and you can come around through the elementary school to the baseball stadium.
Is that always open?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so if that's not always open, then we can't provide that as an option.
The entrance on Celery Avenue between the fields is not always open either, I don't think.
Yeah, so Chief, you're the expert. I'm not gonna go against Mellonville not being open if you're saying it's not safe. But I'm just trying to, I know that that is a big, other than going directly to First Street and Seminole Boulevard, going to the sports complex, the Memorial Stadium is another way, another route that is used heavily. So I just want to make sure that there's no misunderstanding with someone who's reading the map.
Well, this was a recommendation from the mayor, and it was the most feasible way for us to get people there.
Mayor, you have a golf cart?
No.
Okay,
I've driven golf carts, though.
okay. But, all right.
I mean, I don't understand that question.
Because I don't give advice on how to be the mayor. I'm not the mayor. So I'm just saying, these people drive the golf cart all the time. We need to make sure that it's easy for them. Maybe ask, did we give this back to Victoria?
This is one of the things she asked for.
Okay.
And Sergeant Smart
Let me
rode
go
with.
back on that for a minute, Chief, though. Because I'm not sure we want to encourage people to drive on sidewalks. And coming from 11th Street to either of those entrances, by the time you would get to a place you could get on the sidewalk, you're already in the driveway to the stadium or into Triplet Center.
Mayor,
Right.
this is the best solution we
Right.
have for people to get there.
Okay.
Otherwise, there's no other solution for that, for us to allow them to get to that location safely. That intersection at 13th, at Celery and Mellonville is a very dangerous intersection, and allowing anyone to drive on Celery in that area, or even in Mellonville in that area, places them at great harm. So though it is probably not the best recommendation or solution, it is a solution for the citizens to be able to get there.
Will we have signage that says, will we have signage, sir, that says that you can ride on the golf cart? I mean, you can
On
ride
tap,
on the
yeah.
sidewalk?
We can place signage there.
That would be very helpful, I think, because it'll be kind of
For
an
that short
exception
area.
to the norm.
But you would have to jump the curb to do it.
Mayor, it was your recommendation. Our sergeant went out and drove that area with Ms. Huggins. They drove back and forth. She went back out again to look at that location as well, and this is the best solution that we have, other than having the folks drive their golf carts to 11th and park them on the side of the road there and walk across the street. Their
Okay.
other option is to go to Hamilton. That gate may not always be open, but I'm certain that the roundabout there is always open for people to park their golf carts or carts or vehicles, and then walk back to the stadium. We're trying to find the best solution for people so that they can get to the location that's been requested.
We appreciate that, Chief. Thank you.
Signage will definitely help, and that probably is the best solution. Unless money falls from the sky and we can build a golf cart overpass, this is probably the best we can do.
Now, we do have green space at the end of the stadium on the where Hamilton is. Just brainstorming, y'all. Could we do future grass parking there for golf carts? And then that way, if you're coming across, oh, I can't believe I'm getting to this age. If you're coming across 8th, then you know that you can park there and then you can walk down to the stadium instead of actually getting on the sidewalk. Because I agree with the mayor too. Golf carts shouldn't be on the sidewalk. But I do understand, Chief. That's what, hey, listen, I get it.
I believe that if it's city's property, it is a city's property.
Yeah, I don't know if we see an
They would have
impact
to look
on
at that.
keeping that gate open or that entrance open.
No, I'm saying they can walk down to the.
They can still get in from 8th coming down to Hamilton.
But I'm saying, if it doesn't, like, if they need to go all the way around, at least we provided a way for them to get to the Mellonville area. Now, if you've got to walk a block or so, then that's fine, but you need to park right there at the end. And I'm not saying that this is what we have to do. I'm just trying to think outside the box instead of us saying no all the time. I mean, because the Jeff Triplett Center is one of our biggest amenities, and I want us to be able to have access to it through the golf carts, but also safely.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and these are good changes. I think this is a nice compromise where we're listening to the constituents and still trying to keep safety first.
Agreed, Commissioner Thomas, agreed.
Well, we'll get those signs put up, and we'll take a look at that location that you're talking about, Mayor.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, thank you, Chief.
You want
Does
me to stay
Mr.
up
Ramondo
here?
have more to share with us?
He's up next.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's another item, I guess it's 287G. I'm already up here.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
you want to stay up for that? Let me pass out some stuff. You two can share.
Thank you. Commissioner,
With
thank
you?
you.
Commissioner Boki.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bonaparte?
Thank you.
Okay. We haven't talked about this in a while, and Chief, I appreciate the great job you have done to keep us safe and following the rules as they are. Things have changed a bit since we talked about it last. First thing I want to ask you and just clarify, I was going back through the reports that you were giving us monthly.
Correct.
And the last report I saw was from June on any kind of activity, and I think you have provided reports then, or just maybe we presume that there hasn't been any activity, thus there hasn't been on the report.
Monthly, when we provide the information to the city manager, it's usually right at the bottom of that sheet, the information that we have provided
Okay,
with regards to our activities with ICE.
okay, appreciate that. What I've given to everybody on the dais is a document that talks about basically where we are now. And right at the top, you can see that I am proposing, not to leave this to the bottom and surprise anybody, but I'd like to propose that we suspend the 287G agreement, not cancel it, but suspend it, while at the same time reaffirming cooperation with federal warrants for serious violent crimes and joint task forces unrelated to immigration enforcement. And this is a 3-page document that I have provided to my team here that talks about what's been happening with 287G, facts about when they are and have been suspended or terminated by other cities and states, actions that some of us know about, for example, in Maryland, common reasons for suspending the agreement, including, and I won't read this verbatim, but they include categories like erosion of community trust, racial profiling and civil rights abuses, legal liabilities, limited effectiveness, and legislative action. Obviously, a lot of this has happened in other states, but not just there, but also in Florida. I've listed the states that have taken action: Maryland, New Mexico, Maine, Virginia, other states that have banned this, including California, Connecticut, et cetera. And then I've posed a question here: can we legally suspend 287G in the city of Sanford? There is no explicit statute. Florida law does not explicitly require city police departments that do not operate jails to sign the 287 agreements. When we signed it, it was a little bit more of a cooperative atmosphere. We were wanting to do the right thing. I appreciated the chief saying, we're going to do what we need to do. We'll assign one officer. We're not going to go over and above what is required. Nonetheless, while counties have issues, the county has to do the county jail. Again, Florida law does not explicitly require city police departments to do this. And I know I'm going to hear from Attorney Green on all this, so I'll appreciate listening to you once I'm done. There has, of course, been state pressure. If we do something like this, the Attorney General, who we all know, has threatened city officials with removal from office. Key West, Fort Myers went through things when it came to that. There are federal contractual rights versus state law that I have cited in here. So given all of that, should we suspend the agreement? Enforcement of these state-level penalties has not occurred, and as stated, in addition to what I say here, pushback will not happen unless more cities have the courage to hold the line in their communities. And on the following pages, I have added more information on cities that have not signed the agreement, and there are statistics in here as of February that indicate that of the 411 cities in the state, 185 have signed this agreement. 185 of 411, that's less than half. And despite the pressure exerted by the governor and the AG to strong-arm cities into joining this deportation machine, over 100 agencies have not signed up. They talk about wanting to have elected officials have the courage to support the communities and do something about this. Later, I've talked about, as compelled by applicable interpretive canons, the legislature's express specification that a failure to enter this agreement by only operators of county facilities can constitute a sanctuary policy, trying to do this while failing to make any mention or requirement of municipalities, shows a contrary indication when it comes to municipalities. So again, statistically speaking, not all cities have signed it. They can put forth pressure. No, I absolutely do not want to put a target on our back because we know they're trying to do other things with the cities. However, there are also articles that some of you have been seeing where nationally and in Florida, even in Florida, the majority of people do not support ICE and what they are doing now. So what I'm saying here, let me try and give you some bottom lines. What I'm saying is I don't not support double negative, but I do not support immigration and customs enforcement. What I do not support is ICE in the current version of that organization, especially given what's been happening in Minnesota and other places. I just don't think that we as a city here should support something like that that's happening if it's not absolutely legally required for us to do so. Given that, my desire is to, perhaps tonight's meeting, propose that we make a motion to suspend the agreement. I probably won't get the support, but I do want to go on record for me and my district, the people that I've talked to say, let's put a pause on this agreement until things change where immigrations and customs enforcement goes back to the way it should be, does the right thing when it comes to removing people who are not legally entitled to be here, but at the same time does not keep our kids from going to school because they are afraid to do so, keep our citizens who are undocumented but here, or people who are even citizens being afraid to be out in public because they know what's been happening legally or otherwise. Okay, I think I will stop there, and I'm sure, Attorney Green, you have something to say.
Well, Commissioner, I will review the memo that you provided, and I don't have the ability to respond to everything in your memo this evening. At the same time, at this juncture, I would not recommend a suspension of 287G, but for both the federal and state reasons, I would not recommend it. I would not, 2019, you're aware that sanctuary cities were outlawed. I don't want the city being put into a legal predicament with that, but at the same time, I will review your memo that you provided, and then I can get back to you. I would not recommend, of course, therefore, taking action on it this evening without the opportunity to digest it. What I can tell you is that I have met with the chief regularly. We are adhering to 287G while at the same time fulfilling our mission to the residents of the city of Sanford, and we've done an excellent job of doing that, and I would, of course, will continue to do that. So I will digest your memo and then be able to respond to it fully in a memo myself.
Okay, and then take a hard look at that. Even with sanctuary cities, there's still a question from what I read here legally about how that applies to cities, municipalities, and whether or not they have specifically called out something that says we absolutely cannot suspend it.
And the
So,
question, quite frankly, is even if you believe that there is a legal question as to whether that question having been tested and whether we are in a position to want to take on that test at this time, not having the legal precedents to give us some forecast as to how this may go, when our best alternative may be to continue to do what we're doing in serving the residents in the way that we're serving, at the same time complying with 287G. But
I understand that.
I will digest your memo and get back with you.
okay. And as far as legal precedents go, I'm just concerned there won't be legal precedents until enough of us speak out and speak up against this, so that more attorneys come into this and say something about it. So, thank you. Chief?
So just to piggyback on some of the things that you were saying, I think we have a very robust association and relationship with those in our community of all races, all creeds, all nationalities. We are probably in Seminole County one of the more diverse departments. Our officers are actively engaging everyone within our community. We're actively in the Hispanic community, working with them to make sure that things are done. Our officers who are of Hispanic heritage are constantly either in the churches or as social groups talking about the things that we're doing in our relationships, especially when we look at the Hispanics in our community. It's the same thing with our Muslim community. I mean, we have a very large Muslim community that no one ever really talks about. But because we have officers of Muslim faith who are actually involved and actively engaged in those communities, we have those dialogues with them. So I don't think we really have as much of an issue when it comes to looking at our community trust and the things that we have been doing. That's been one of the cornerstones of our organization since I've been here, is to make sure that we are actively engaged. And I think once this had initially happened, we had one major incident that happened early on, and since that time, God bless, we have been working within the parameters that they have put forth for us. The other thing I just want you to remember or think about is the fact that in each of our federal grants that we get, there is a caveat that's in there that requires us to indicate whether we are or not actively taking part in the organization. So we have to identify that in our grants,
That's
DOJ grants,
news
our
to
COPS
me.
grants, and all of those things. There are questions in there that we have to be able to identify to say that we are engaged in there. It doesn't ask us how engaged we are, but it does ask if we are engaging.
Could
engaged.
you, this is all public record, right? I mean, could
Correct.
you provide information
I
on
can
that
send
to
it
me?
you. Yes, ma'am.
That's news to me, because I mean, frankly, my gut reaction to that would be, why are they doing that? But put that aside. I am glad you said what you did, because I do recognize that, and I do think that Sanford is a model when it comes to the police department and how they do support our community and the fact that it is very diverse. So it is on record now, and that's good, because if I were living in other places like where I used to live, I probably wouldn't even listen to you. But I do, because I know what our police department does do in the community. So
Yes,
that is on record. Thank you for saying that.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Thomas, were you about to say something?
Oh, no.
Okay. A quick question, forgive my ignorance. With 287G agreement, is there a deadline for the cities? Because you spoke about there were a little over 100 who have not signed it, but is it because they've, and you probably don't know this answer, and maybe we can come back to it. Have they postponed it or tabled it or just decided not to discuss it, and that's the reason why they have not? Do you know if that's the reason, and do you know if there's a deadline for cities to sign this agreement?
That's a good question. I don't have the answer. I don't believe there is a deadline, and I don't know why they have not.
Okay.
So I've had enough time to collect this information, but very good questions, and it might be something we want to take a look at and see the ones that have not, why.
I would also, once Attorney Green has the opportunity to review this in depth, also like to look at the item that you have here. Can we legally suspend 287G in the city of Sanford? And under current precedent, it talks about cities like Key West and Fort Myers initially voted to reject or void their agreement, but then quickly reversed the decision after receiving legal threats from the state. If we can dig deeper into that.
Yeah,
and
legal
what
threats
the
that were
legal-
never followed up on.
Okay.
And that's
But-
why there are cities that I think if they put more pressure on this and say, okay, we're calling you on this.
So, but I'm looking for clarification on what kind of legal threats can the state put on a city, for reversing? That's just so we have a little bit more
Right.
information.
Right, because I do not want to put this city in jeopardy, not any of you individually, not the city. If it came down to they find out I'm doing this and they want to fire me, so be it. That's how strongly I feel about this. But I do want to make sure that, in general, these are they idle threats or are they not? So,
And
part of
Commissioner,
our
could you email
research.
me that too?
Pardon me?
Could you email that to me so I could take a look at the information that you shared
Oh,
with the board?
yeah, in fact, you can take a copy with you here.
Thank you, ma'am.
And thank you all for listening. I appreciate that. So I'll put myself on standby, Attorney Green, for your wise and sage wisdom to let me know
Chief,
how
wait a
we go
minute.
forward. Oh, don't leave yet.
Thought I escaped.
So what is our level of engagement?
We are engaged.
You two are engaged?
Understood.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you all.
Okay, thank you.
Park Avenue?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission, the next item on the agenda is 1219 Park Avenue, and Mr. Ramondo will speak about that.
If you don't mind, sir, could I go back to golf carts for just a second? Can we just
Yes.
briefly, let's just talk about that very quickly. By way of history, when we enacted that ordinance, the city manager was responsible for administration or his designee. And police department, by default, became the administrators because we were the experts in motor vehicle enforcement. We were the ones that interfaced with DOT. We were the ones that came up with the map. They were the ones. We was a they at one time, I guess. But anyway, so I'm not looking to steal any work from the police chief, but I know through emails that we have had this push to get golf cart registration online, which, makes sense to me. And I'm willing to look at that. The problem is that it doesn't make sense for me to do an online process and then somebody has to drive to City Hall or we have to drive out to them. It seems to me like it should be a more seamless procedure. So I've already directed the building official who administers the Citizen Serve program to begin building those neural connections in Citizen Serve that golf cart registration can take place. But my question to commission in form of a barometer would be, would you be palatable if the chief of police supported it to a virtual inspection?
Yes.
So something like on a Zoom or something where you could visually
I've got this
see.
brand new, like 80-inch TV in my brand new building training area, and that'd be perfect for like a Zoom call or whatever, where I think we could do it if I could interface with Chief, and I'm sorry I'm shooting one across his bow, because this is kind of new and fresh to him, but I just got that TV hooked up today, and I'm excited about
Well,
it.
it's good to think of ideas like this.
So I just wanted to see what the barometer of the dais was, if you guys would be palatable to a virtual inspection. I think there's a pathway where we could do it. Of course, Chief Smith and his staff would still be responsible for any, enforcement actions as for people who fail to comply. My code enforcement officers just simply can't do that.
Yeah.
Can I ask one question? This is not me objecting to anything, but why couldn't we just take pictures? Why does it have to be like a virtual something? When I go get my car registered, I don't have to have a virtual registration. I don't even have to send pictures in, but I know that a vehicle is totally different from a golf cart. But there's no way to do front, back, side, and you submit that versus I gotta wait on somebody to do a call.
I talked to staff about it, Commissioner, because I was leaning towards exactly that's where I was going with it. And again, I'd be really interested in some input from the folks at the PD who are experts in this, but my thought was that it would be harder to manipulate a digital or virtual inspection than it would to go take pictures of a golf cart and, fabricate compliance. If somebody were nefarious enough to do that, I don't think anybody's going to do that,
Right.
but I just have to, that's the way I've got to live my life. I've got to prepare for the doomsday scenario. So it seems to me that a virtual inspection would be more detail-oriented than pictures, be
And it
less
would be
susceptible
more
to manipulation.
consistent too, because you wouldn't be subject to various types of pictures, how they're taken, what they're taken on. Some will be good at it and some may not, where if you all are looking at the carts the
Right.
same way.
Yeah, one of the questions we get is when we get corrections requested on a building permit, for example, just a piece of information that was missed, it creates an extra review cycle. If we're online, we're talking to each other, and we can get clarification right then, because there's gonna be interaction. And of course, people who don't have access to, say, cell phones or whatever, we would still do traditional means of registration, subject to approval by PD.
It just doesn't seem simplified to me, but
Okay, so do we still inspect every year, or are they only inspected on their
It
first?
says the code says by January 31st. I'm saying that correct, right?
But do we re-inspect every year? So they get one inspection, just the first inspection. So, I mean, it sounds like a lot of work for something that people only have to do once. And I wonder, I mean, how many new golf cart registrations do we get in a year? So I would want you to look into that and see if that effort really makes that much of a difference. I know when, at some point, somebody was complaining that Deltona had online registration, why couldn't Sanford? And so I took a look at it, and you had to create an account in CitizenServe, put everything in, and then drive to City Hall to pick up your permit anyway.
Right.
What are you saying?
And so I'm just thinking, just the creating of the account in CitizenServe makes that, but if you can do it and mail the sticker rather than having them come down.
Yeah, the
But
problem.
unless you can prevent that or
The trip.
avoid that extra
Yeah.
trip, I do think we need, some more automated wherever they're coming to do it. So it's, so that can be more seamless. And I know people want to do it online. I'm just wondering how much that really saves them unless we can mail it back out.
Okay, food for thought. 1219 Park.
Mhm.
Per the commission's direction on February 26, 2026, the city attorney and myself, Eileen Henson, the plan director, Ms. Latempio, and Julie Schofield, our historic preservation planner, met with Mr. Spoor and Mr. Combs here at City Hall for the purposes of clarifying what the relationship and what the path forward looks like. So a summary of that meeting, a detailed summary of the meeting was provided to Mr. Spoor by the city attorney directly. But for the commission's edification, and in no particular order, we said, one, in light of Schedule E, which limits a full fence or encasing a storage area they can do the north and east sides of the property, but must go before HPB board at the next meeting to seek approval for any additional fencing. Per code, we are requiring irrigation for all landscaped areas. The issue of pine straw came up and whether or not we could use it. And basically the way that works is it's never been approved previously. It's not listed as one of our approved mulching materials. So what would the proper response look like? Well, what it would look like is us typing a denial, him appealing, Mr. Spoor, Mr. Combs appealing to commission, and you making a determination. But that just seems overly cumbersome. So why don't I just ask you, the commission, do you think pine straw is acceptable landscaping material? And if it is, let me just get through that. I'd like some guidance if you could provide it. I would tell you that the concerns about
It's highly flammable.
the pine straw materials, it's highly flammable. It requires frequent replacement. It has a propensity to fly away. That's why we don't list it as one of our approved mulching sources. However, we're willing to hear the rest of the story.
Well, as far as the frequent replacement goes, that's up to the owner, and if they're willing to do that frequently and spend the money to do so, I don't have a problem with that. The highly flammable part concerns me, because that impacts not just that property.
I use it at my house and it's just fine, but that's just me.
I didn't know we got this much into the details.
Yeah,
Good
Too
God.
detail-y?
I mean, be quiet, Sheena.
Mm.
I don't see a big issue with using pine straw. It will become, a maintenance issue like we have many other places. So,
I don't know much about pine straw, but I will say that it's allowed everywhere in South Carolina.
I think we can move on from that,
Yeah.
because our city clerk says so.
Yeah. So I don't hear any opposition to
Okay.
pine straw. I'm not hearing any opposition. Is that, am I getting that correct?
Yeah, we're good. Move on.
We talked about the 4 trees in the right-of-way, and whether or not a right-of-way application was going to be required. We interfaced with Mike Cash over in Public Works, and he recommended it be incorporated into the DP, so that's how we're going to resolve that matter. A separate right-of-way use permit is not going to be required. You know, there were some questions about the oak tree halo that was proposed by the developers. We're just asking that they provide technical information for us to be able to make a determination as to whether that's appropriate or not. And then the last thing was you guys received some testimony from the applicant that basically indicated they were occupying the building improperly. And so we had a conversation in the meeting about that. And, you know, they were admonished that please don't occupy the building until you have permissions to do so. And I will tell you that, you know, guys have been on patrol and been watching it, and they have honored that, that conversation. So the building is not occupied at this time. It's not going to be occupied until the conditions are met. And so that was, in summary, that was the meeting. And then I would, City Attorney, I would point to you. Did I miss anything there, or is that pretty much how you?
No, you hit everything that we discussed. Thank you.
What's the problem with the oak tree?
I got a couple of questions. First, on the oak tree, is how they, and I understand the desire to protect that tree, and that makes sense to me. But based on the placement of the dumpster, so I hope someone is evaluating whether the garbage truck is going to be crossing that area and the impact that'll have. If it's cars and golf carts, that's one thing. If it's trucks, it's another thing.
You're talking about turning radiuses, or you're talking about just driving over?
Driving across it.
That's
So
something that'll be looked at on the permit.
somebody will,
So we're
I
phone a
hope
friend,
somebody's
come on up.
addressing that. And then, and I was trying to look it up because I thought I had downloaded all the LDRs, but apparently I did not download the landscape one. There is not an option for a landscape plan that does not require irrigation?
I believe
The short-
Ms. Henson is coming down.
Yeah.
A short what?
The short answer is that all landscaping requires irrigation by code. That's the short answer.
Okay,
We'll see what Ms. Henson says.
That is correct.
okay, so there's not, do you have special landscaping or a different plan?
Not drought tolerant, not,
At all times, it has to be available because, I mean, we have, even if we have drought tolerant, we do have droughts in which the landscaping can and will
Okay.
die. And then it becomes a code enforcement issue, as with, you know, like the mulch types, pine straws, all those things that Tony was speaking of before. Those become code enforcement issues if they're not kept up. But the landscaping does require irrigation by code.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Comments? All right, thank you.
Any other questions regarding 1219 Park Avenue?
are we? Never mind.
What?
So we think we're going to get there.
Are we gonna get there? Is it gonna happen in this lifetime,
Tony?
this decade, this
Tony.
century?
Tony, are we going to get there with this? Is that the good answer
Sounds
here?
like the applicant has a path to get there.
There is a path to get here.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Good.
Okay.
All right. Donation policy.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, our finance director will now give a discussion regarding donation policy. And you'll find a donation sheet on your dais.
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. It's been almost a year since you approved the donation grant policy. And I just wanted to see if there's anything that you wanted to change, et cetera. But I just wanted to go over the what I put on your desk is the application. This is what you as commissioners agreed you would fill out and send to me when you asked for a donation from your commission funds. This really helps us because we have to contact the donee and ask for an invoice, possibly vendor application, vendor paperwork to pay them the donation money, and also to fill out the grant application, which is the second page. So this is what we need from the donee in order to give them the funds. And then I just attached all the backup paperwork to the program, and Attorney Green had sent out this information to you via email a couple weeks ago, just reminding you on how important it is to declare the donation a public purpose and the reason behind it as being a public purpose. And with that, I'll leave it to you to see if you have any questions, anything you'd like to change or
Yes.
see differently.
I have a question. Under section 2, number 5, it says only one application per agency will be considered per year.
Yeah.
I'd like the commission to look at that, especially because I like to donate to the Historic Trust, also SAO, Sanford and Orlando, when they do Juneteenth, and they also do the Christmas Jubilee. That's twice in a year. I'd like clarification if that means fiscal year as well, because Juneteenth happens before our new year, and then the Christmas event happens in October, which is a different year. So I just want to clarify on that. And then the Cultural Guild, usually I do their a donation for the holiday tour of homes, and then the garden tour. This is more than one application, so I'd like the commission to look at that to see if
Yeah, I
that's a
agree
yes
with that.
or a no.
I was gonna ask sort of the same question, because when 3 different commissioners provided money to the same organization, was that one application or 3 applications?
Just one.
Okay.
But there are legitimate reasons for more than one per year.
So do we need to change that, or are we,
Who came up with the one per year?
I believe the past attorney did.
Okay.
And I think that probably had to do with spreading things around,
Right.
not focusing on just a couple of organizations.
Well, that's a good idea, but we can certainly maybe have information available whenever we do propose something new. If it's the same organization, then you could be in the back of the room saying, well, you've done that twice or 3 times already, and vote accordingly, instead of having a hard and fast rule that is mostly appropriate, but not in every case.
The commission has to have a motion, and then it has to be approved by the commission in order to provide the fundings anyway, so that can be your fail-safe right there. But I do think that we need to change number 5.
Just take it out.
Mm-hmm.
I
What
agree.
I would recommend is just getting some of the backstory as how you came up with this language in the first place. I can work, do you know, Commissioner?
no, it was completely drafted without our help, without our opinion, and then presented to us.
I believe we talked about it
No, we
a
did
couple
not,
of times before this was drafted.
we did not talk about one per applicant per year. Because that would nullify us being able to help any schools, or a spring team and a fall team. I mean, there's a million different reasons I can come up with that we wouldn't have fallen for that.
We would also, if looking at the resolutions, we also need to really look at what the requirements are now, which it does make sense. I'm not saying, because we must be mindful of using taxpayers' dollars, but item 7, 8, 9, and 10, we're talking about nonprofit agency must provide the previous year fundraising plan and statement on future fundraising efforts. I don't have a problem with that, but we are asking, a
Where
whole
are
lot
you?
here.
That was in the memo. I think that was a suggestion that was not in,
Mhm.
actually ended up in the resolution
It's
or
not in the
the grant
resolution.
application.
The nonprofit agency must be licensed and accredited in accordance with, applicable requirements of federal, state, and county laws. Again, I don't have an objection to it because, but
Those are from Seminole County. That was presented to us to discuss
Right.
when we were coming up with what our guidelines would be.
But ours does include number 4, which is the nonprofit shall have a governing board whose members serve without compensation.
that's a lot.
And have no conflict of interest between their regular occupations and the services provided by the nonprofit.
And what that section goes to is, should the city be audited with regard to funds, legally what would be looked at to determine whether the funds that were donated met the public purpose? That was that analysis. Would it be the pleasure of the mayor and commission to have any limitation on donations? Would you like me to draft some language for your review?
I don't know if we've had any situations where we couldn't meet that requirement, but I don't go back as far.
Couldn't meet what requirement?
The nonprofit having a governing board serving without compensation, yada, yada.
No, I was pointing to the subsection 5 that you're referring to with regard to the only one application per agency will be considered per year. Would you like me to draft some proposed language? Is there some limitation you would like? Or none at all?
Yeah, because even in the case of, let's just say, is it Christian Tech Ministries? They did a computer lab for the recovery house. Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
And then they did a computer lab maybe for Goldsboro Front Porch,
Didn't they do something, Mr. Bailey? With the computers?
maybe.
They have in the past,
Yeah. So if they did that in the same calendar year and we wanted to support him for both, under the current policy, we wouldn't be able to.
Correct.
And so that's another good reason why, we probably need to amend this.
It might make sense for us not to create work here, but to have easily accessible data on what we have already done within the calendar year. You have it, but something at our fingertips where we want to do something for a public purpose, we can go look in section whatever. Say, here's what we've given to.
A spreadsheet on what you all have approved.
Yeah.
I do update it for what actually gets paid because not everyone, because I do not get this information, I cannot contact them
Mhm.
and they never send me anything. So not everybody that y'all approved has actually been paid.
Yeah.
Number 4, where it says the nonprofit agency shall have a governing board, going back to that, there are sometimes, like, I think I've heard Commissioner Austin have given to, like, a school organization. They're going to a trip or some kind of nationals or something like that. What would be the definition of the board if it's a school board agency? Would it be the school board, or is it the board of the Boosters Club? Like, when they do small donations like that, how do we clarify what is a governing board?
Yeah, I think that the only time you all have donated to a school was actually to, like, the Boosters Club or something like that. Not actually to the school board that I'm aware of.
Right, so, but it says the agency must have a governing board. I guess if that's if we're asking for a nonprofit,
Right.
okay. So, but how
Well, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. The donation to Hamilton didn't go through Booster Club, so
It went to their,
bookkeeper?
yeah.
Okay. So some situations it would go to the school bookkeeper.
Mhm.
Which technically,
What did we pay for Hamilton?
for their, Odyssey of the Mind, club to go to nationals.
I believe when we did Young Man, Women Veterans,
That was through the school bookkeeper, or the Booster Club, one or the other.
One or the other.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we want to rewrite the whole policy and nitpick it, but it's important for us to follow our own policy too,
Right.
so. Maybe Attorney Green can come up with some fancy attorney lingo that covers more than a nonprofit, but also
I'll just draft some language and get it to you at the next meeting, or I'll just send it to you
Sure.
for your review. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that the goal is, of course, to donate money. The also goal, which is equally as important, is to make sure that should any of these funds be audited, that we pass muster.
Yeah.
And so I will just draft some language and get it to you, okay?
Well, and that if any taxpayer questions any of these donations, we have.
Same, absolutely.
And Cindy, I think you got my requests. I filled out your forms and suggested some improvements. So we're good on SAO.
How far do we need to go back with the application?
I can let you know who I have not received anything from,
Okay,
if you would like.
so I can fill them out. But I'm saying, I mean, we've been doing this for,
Usually if I have their contact information, I contact them, especially if it's somebody in the past, I usually have. But if it's a new person, I don't have anything to contact
Okay.
with them.
gotcha, thank you.
But if it's a new person, you let us know that you need.
I do
She
like
sends us
every
the information if we
6
need.
or 7 months, I let you know. I don't on a monthly basis.
Appreciate your keeping us legit.
Anything else?
No, sir.
All right,
Thank you.
Public art.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission, we have Ms. Lisa Holder as the staff person, but also Ms. Virginia Poe as the chair of the Public Art Commission, as well as other members of the Public Art Commission.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, Lisa Holder, Public Art Manager, City of Sanford Staff Liaison to the Public Art Commission. I'm here today with our public art, members of our Public Art Board, appointed board. We have Kim House, Reggie Santilli,
Thank you.
Virginia Poe, who is our chair of the Public Art Commission, and Commissioner Patrick Austin, who is our commission liaison to the Public Art Commission. I'm going to turn it over to Virginia Poe to start the presentation, and we'll each provide some information to you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. We're happy to be here. Since Lisa introduced all of us, I wanted to also mention Sally Dealer and Cassandra Williams are on our Public Art Board. Neither of them were able to be here today to help us give this presentation. After careful evaluation of the needs of the growing city, and the Public Art Commission has identified opportunities within the community for this master plan. It outlines a practical framework that can be implemented in thoughtful phases to help address establishing a brick-and-mortar hub to support these programs. And now I will let Mr. Austin, Commissioner Austin, speak.
Public art contributes to community pride, youth development and opportunity, lifelong creative opportunities for adults, downtown revitalization, economic activity, cultural dialogue, and social cohesion. Public art is much more than decoration. It builds community pride and enhances the quality of life. Just as people together, the arts do the same. While also strengthening our economy, public art helps activate and revitalize downtowns, supports local businesses, and contributes to property values by making Sanford the kind of place people want to live, work, and visit. It creates opportunities for people of all ages, children, adults, and seniors to learn, create, and stay engaged in their community while continuing to learn. Strong communities invest in both sports and the arts because both bring people together and help a city thrive.
Installing art alone is not enough. Public art must be coordinated, maintained, and protected to may remain a lasting asset to the city. Programs must grow in a thoughtful and measured way.
Public art accomplishments. So many of you have seen the art yourselves across the city of Sanford, but originally we have created a public art ordinance. We have wrapped about 75 utility boxes across the city. There's 28 sculptures and also public art installations installed. More than 14 murals you will find across the city of Sanford. We also have the beautiful Sanford art mural on the building of City Hall that was recently installed and unveiled. We have a sculpture tour art on loan program with the Mendez brothers. There's 10 sculptures throughout downtown Sanford. We established the Artisan Square location and have many art on loan temporary exhibits at the Artisan Square outside the Welcome Center. We have the quarterly art and chambers exhibitions in the in the chambers, as you can see here, and in our lobby. We expanded digital marketing for our public art program. We have the quarterly Mayor's Gallery upstairs on the second floor. We established an employee art gallery called After Hours that soon will be in the main lobby of City Hall. We established an artist vetting process. We developed site selection criteria. We implemented public engagement tools, expanded art into other districts, not just downtown, District 1. We also expanded digital marketing, and we recently created the Sanford Soundstage program where we bring musicians and performance art into the City Hall specifically.
Sanford has already built a meaningful momentum in visual public art. We have murals, sculptures, utility box wraps, and a recognized signature fine art event that draws visitors and supports the arts community. The plan builds on that foundation and those assets.
The Public Art Commission recommends a phased approach, so the right plan and oversight are in place. From there, we move forward step by step, growing programs only when participation and results show that they are working. Phase 1 confirms feasibility and puts the necessary plans and structure in place. Phase 2 prepares Monroe Hall or a similar downtown building as a safe, visible downtown location with educational space, parking, and accessibility needed for Sanford's first arts and cultural center. And Phase 3 allows programs to grow as the demand and interest increase.
Long-term sustainability requires multiple funding sources: memberships, classes, sponsorships, grants, and support from Sanford's signature event can help support public art programs. When Sanford's Public Art Commission was first established, an approved ordinance included a 1% public art allocation tied to development projects. While this mechanism is no longer in place, development-based funding remains a possible option to support public art initiatives in the future and replaces funding from the city budget. These cities have adopted a 1% development fee that goes into a public art fund or trust. We've also found other cities that have this, such as Naples, West Palm Beach. St. Cloud has proposed this, hasn't been proved yet, Westlake and Walnut Creek. So it is a growing thing that's happening to support the arts in Florida cities.
In conclusion, I'd like to one more time thank Lisa Holder for all her help. You can't imagine keeping all of these groups of ideas together when we can only meet once a month. We do have workshops where we meet. We hope that you see and are happy with what we've done so far since we've been the Public Art Commission, and we want your support going forward. We really would like to have a building that people can come to, that we can have art classes, maybe even music classes, but right in the downtown area. This master plan provides for the framework for that. With continued collaboration, we have the opportunity to establish ourselves as a true art and cultural destination. So we respectfully ask you today to approve this. Can we count on you? You know you can count on us. Thank you. Oh, wait. Did you have any questions? Sorry.
Questions, anyone?
I mean, after all that, how could you have a question?
Not necessarily a question,
Yes.
and we've talked about Monroe Hall, so we know that we have some things that Monroe Hall needs. It's also involved in these bigger picture discussions we're having.
Right.
But I'm also thinking about, well, a couple of things. One is, no matter what we do to do positive things like this, we know we're going to have keyboard warriors out there who will say, how can you do art at all when we have wastewater treatment plants that need money? Well, a lot of us know that there's different colors of money. We can only do so much here versus there. So, little comment there. But I firmly support the fact that we can do both things at the same time. We will continue to push for the right kind of water and wastewater and infrastructure. But if we want people to come to our beautiful city, we need art to be able to promote that. That being said, you did put this in one of your items there, and I hope you mean it, when we should be doing this beyond just downtown Sanford. I would love to see more of this happening in Georgetown, in Goldsboro. Let's get some more beautiful things happening in those communities who so much deserve that. So let's hope you mean that when it's, not just a focus on downtown. I'm not even mentioning my own district, but, if we can get Georgetown and Goldsboro more involved in the public art, that would be great. I think that's all I had to say. And thank you, as always, for your continued hard work. And help us repaint this chamber.
Right.
Any other questions, comments?
Yeah. Any other questions? We agree with you. I mean, we're all artists and art enthusiasts. We're always looking for places to put work, and we do encourage, riding around and looking. We also try to ride around and look to make sure that the art that we have put up is not damaged or there's no graffiti on it, and all of us, or several of us, have chemicals in our trunks to get out there and wipe stuff off if we do see it. And we do that, and peel off stickers and stuff like that.
Well, appreciate you guys. Commissioner Thomas, just so you know, Ms. Holden and I have been talking. This is nothing new. We have been talking about Goldsboro and Georgetown. I
Okay.
appreciate you saying something, but
Right.
we have been talking about getting something taken care of.
Okay. Right, if you have locations, let us know. We'll
Yes,
go
we
look
talked
at it.
about it.
Yeah.
Okay, good to hear.
Can I say, I think, Mayor, may I say something? I think the Public Art Commission, the big question and elephant in the room here is they are requesting some guidance as whether or not to move forward with a cultural arts center in the city of Sanford, whatever that may look like. This is the first time that they're presenting a public art master plan. It's not just an update. It's a request for direction on where the commission would like to see their focus be. And so there was also mention in there about the 1% development fee to pay for art, public art moving forward. And they can come before you in future meetings, but time is ticking, and so budget-wise and all of that. And so they are looking for direction, essentially.
I would like for the Art Commission to look into public art grants. It is important that the city, should, assist with that. but I believe that we should at least attempt to acquire grant funding for art. I'm not saying that you haven't. I'm just saying we would like to see if there's some grants that would ask for matching funding and things like that.
We're looking to the tourist development tax that Seminole County gets. So we're kind of moving in that direction. We want to do that carefully because if other people see us doing that, it'll give them an idea. So we want to have all our ducks in a row before we approach Seminole County.
And this is one of those areas where I don't know where we stand with people on staff who are good grant writers and know where to research that and where to try and get the funds. I don't know if you guys need help with that or you don't have a grant writer.
Grant writing is one of our sustainability bullet points.
Mm.
We plan on doing that once we have a cultural center, working on programs within that center. That's going to be a big part of it.
You do need to have a plan and a foundation in order to request money for grants.
And having a home might help you be able to get a successful grant.
Do you have any other questions for us? I mean, have you thought of stuff while we've been standing here?
Yeah, more of a comment. Because, I think it's time for us to have the cultural center. And looking at Monroe Hall and seeing what the option is there. But I don't want to give up on if the library is moved. What happens to that county-owned building? Or, and Brady's not in the room, depending on how a development scenario comes forward with the gravel lot, the idea of a art center, event center there on commercial facing the grass lot, I think is also something we should not give up on.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
I think it would be great if we could have a bricks and mortar building so that we can, and it can be a stepping stone to what you're discussing. I just think that we're at a crossroads as far as PAC, and that we have a lot of programs and we need a place, a hub for people to identify that we have existence and a place to go to for questions and for partnerships and for all of the above. And we're just not, it's a gap that we're seeing. And so I think that our commissioners know this, and you can see that we are at that point in time. Well, I see the need firsthand because I have the classes at Hopper, or I say the St. John's has the classes at Hopper. And our mayor has seen the number of kids that respond to those classes. And there just isn't an education source in Sanford that's consistent. Here, one day, gone the next. But we need some consistency. And I think that we can provide that and do a good job doing it. And I do think that we have the experience.
What is the actual ask of the commission today?
It's asking for Monroe Hall to be repaired or whatever it needs to become Sanford's first arts and cultural center with classrooms.
Okay. We've looked at this prior with Parks and Recreation and saw that we did not have the budget to do that, even to open it back up just because we needed the additional event space. I'm not against it. I do believe in you all being proactive and trying to come up with a plan. Looking at your phase implementation, I think that when it says for the commission to adopt the public art master plan all of the bullet points underneath that should be in the plan, and then present it back to the commission of what it looks like, what the cost would be, if there is, what the government funding would look like. When you're talking about like the financial sustainability, the framework, all of that should be put into the plan. Then the commission can have a better idea of exactly what is needed.
Okay,
Well,
yeah,
and
that's why we're asking for the 1% development fee, which we had at one point in time.
I was gonna ask Ms. Lindsay, did we ever collect anything on that? Okay. I know the state has had some bills floating around that would prevent those. But
Are you sure? Because I think that we collected at one point in time $400,000.
Ms. Lindsay shaking her head no.
No? And Mayor Triplett was commissioner then.
No, he's mayor.
Yeah, I'm mayor then.
So,
Yeah, don't you remember that's when the ordinance changed, because he was upset that there was that much money for public
Right.
art.
I was at that meeting, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The money was there,
Mhm.
and it,
We were too new.
Ms. Lindsay's gonna come
We were-
remind us
We were
of.
brand new, if, that wouldn't happen today, but we were brand new and didn't know, to complain, and we didn't even have a budget then.
Okay,
Right.
all
And there
right.
are no other cities in Seminole County that do this 1%.
Yes, they do. And they've done it for a long time, many years.
Ms. Lindsay?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Go ahead.
Yes, we had looked at doing the 1%. One of the problems is most of our capital items are grant funded to begin with and are paid out of restricted funds. So the city would have had to budget that extra money to put in the fund. So we did away with that, and then that's when we established the PAC fund and just funded it ourselves versus the 1%. And also, it was going to be, even if we did it, the 1%, it was going to be like $4 or $5 million a year.
Okay, but it was 1% of private development, right? Or, and public, so we would charge ourselves that, okay.
Right.
yeah,
All right.
some cities only charge what they, develop, capital
That's
development.
We're advocating for just private.
We're just, yeah, we're asking for
Okay.
private.
All right. I'm not enthusiastic about putting an additional cost on development, but I think it would depend on what the details are.
Bring in?
What the details are, what range it's on, is there a cap, those kind of things. So
Well,
I think it's something we can certainly talk about.
Well, even 0.5% would be better than what they're getting now.
You know, it's nothing.
That's why I was asking you, that's.
And conversely, without going down a rabbit hole here, it is very clear and ominous, as we tried to explain last year with the fire fee, that we need to find new avenues of fees in order to fund things, if we plan to even exist in the future.
Yeah.
And so this fee on developers for public art in the city to keep improving the quality of life in this city, it I think it would behoove us to take a long, hard look at it. We are looking at we're looking at a $10 to $14 million shortfall if everything passes the way it is right now. I don't know where we begin. I don't know where we begin. Does that mean we eliminate parks? Do we close up parks? I don't know. I don't know. We can't take away from we can't take away from fire police. Well, you're brushing off this fee that was promised to them years ago. If they had the fee, it wouldn't really be an issue at yearly budgeting.
I think we could go with 0.5%. That seems like next to nothing when you compare it to other things. And that
I
would
would
still, like you say,
also-
bring in more than they're getting now.
I'll also mention that we have discussed
going and looking for sponsors ourselves, like Advent Health and other large companies that sponsor public art commissions and sponsor specific pieces of art when they're asked. So we're right behind you there in looking for sources of funding aside from the city's budget.
I mean,
Talk to the Arden Corporation. They're bringing some great new business in here. Maybe they'd be willing to join us in donating to art.
the other thing I'll say, and then I'll be quiet, we have a lot of facilities in this city I've talked about for 10 years now that are underutilized, underused. Taxpayers are paying to keep them up. Taxpayers are paying to air condition them, insure them, and repair them. How many air conditioners have we replaced in some of these buildings that we do not utilize enough? And so we have an organization that wants to utilize some space, and one of our facilities, I think it's worth taking a hard look at.
Who are you arguing with? I think we're all on board.
I'm arguing with you because you.
He's expressing his passion for this, because he's a member of this Public Arts Commission. And I think the only awkward part with Monroe Hall is all these discussions about incorporating it in everything else we're doing with the opportunity site. You know, do we put it aside? Do we include it in all that? Do we include it as a potential use by this team?
We already previously included it in another
Something that didn't
PRQ,
happen.
RAQ, yes,
Yeah.
that did not happen.
Yeah.
You know, we just keep talking about what if, what could be, whatever, and we're not proceeding.
We just don't have the money. It's not that I'm against it, but I mean, Lisa came up and did a presentation on just trying to keep the floors renovated. We don't have the funds for it.
The estimated cost for getting Monroe Hall usable is about $300,000.
Well, when did that go up? Last time it was 30-something thousand.
So the last presentation was $300,000.
Okay, so here's what I
Let's
would
just tear it down then.
suggest. Let's look at what the specifics of a development fee would look like. And I don't know if that's the Art Commission or someone else on staff. And have we had a conversation with Parks and Rec about Monroe Hall?
No, we have not.
Okay, then we need to have a discussion with Parks and Rec about Monroe Hall and look at what the use could look like, and then an estimate of how much it would take to do it. And then once we have an estimate of how much it would take to do it, we can start looking to see if there is funding available for it. But until you know how much money you need, you can't go ask.
So, Mr. Mayor, in terms of Monroe Hall, would simply not be, because what I heard, and please correct me, is not simply getting the building usable, but you want to provide different rooms, different classrooms, other things than just simply a empty building.
And we may take baby steps.
Right, we could do that slowly though, we can, as we grow.
If we're talking 300,000 to do the repair, I mean, what does that compare to the cost of raising the building and putting something else in there?
Well, Commissioner Thomas said the building has been practically unusable for several years now.
Yeah.
And the can has been kicked down the road several times. There was an insurance option at one point that I think we failed to get done, to get it repaired. Now all of a sudden it's $300,000, but I don't believe that's to make it usable. That's to do a lot of things to make it nice. There's a difference between making something usable and making it nice, or what we think it might need, or what rental what rental capabilities it has if it had these features.
Right.
You know, we talk a lot about renting our spaces. I was at another city facility today. I'm not going to mention any names. They're talking about there's a possibility to rent out space. You know, the city doesn't make any money renting out space. There's practically no ROI, return on investment, in renting out space. When you talk about the man hours that it takes to take care of these facilities, what it costs us to take care of these facilities, fix them, et cetera, et cetera. the rental business for the city, I think, is just something we waste too much time thinking about, worrying about, talking about, instead of just making our facilities presentable and usable to our residents and groups like this.
Yep.
And I'll stop.
I agree.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, what we'll look at doing is get with the Public Art Commission, to get with Parks and Rec, and to come up with an estimated cost and what it would take for the Monroe Hall to be usable for the Public Art Commission's use.
Thank you.
Who should we do that with?
Lisa?
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Bonaparte, can we add in there, because I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm not being heard. I was saying that under the master plan, if on phased implementation approach, if we could add those bullet points to the presentation, then that will give us, you know, along with what the other commissioners were saying, I think that helps a little bit more when you're talking about the financial sustainability and the framework and all of that. Please include that. It paints a better picture for me to be able to tell my constituents, because this building is in District 1, why we're spending this kind of money.
Is that clear to the Public Art Commission?
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Art enriches everyone. Art enriches everyone. I'm going to tattoo that on your arm, Virginia.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, next is a presentation for the Department of Community Relations and Neighborhood Engagement with Ms. Osborne and her staff.
I want to make sure I know how to advance the clicker. Good afternoon. Nicole Osborne, Community Relations and Neighborhood Engagement Director. Good afternoon, Mayor, City Commissioners, City Attorney, and Mr. Bonaparte.
We have an acronym now?
We do.
had that.
right.
I've never seen that before.
It's so much easier to say.
If you went to Citizens Academy, you'd know that.
I went to it years ago before it was what it is now.
Okay. I have my team with me here today. I've been with the city since 2008. So as I call my team members' names, I'm just asking them to wave at you just to say hello so you'll know who they are. And then my program managers will come up later to tell you about their programs. So first we have Pamela Smith, who is our Admin 3. She supports us, as well as Tiara Hardaway. She's our CDBG Program Manager, which is
She's
Community
what?
Development Block Grant.
She's the what?
CDBG Program Manager, Community Development Block Grant Program Manager. And then we have Annette Roche Ruiz, who's our Outreach LIHEAP Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program Outreach Technician, and Maria Garcia, who is the LIHEAP Program Manager. Oh, I'm sorry. Pam has been with us since 2003, Maria since 2002. And let's see, who else? Annette has been with us since 2021, and Miss Tiara for 4 months.
Did you say Maria since 2000 what?
Maria?
Uh-huh.
2002.
Hey, wonderful, Maria. Thank you for your dedication to the city.
Mm-hmm.
In the LIHEAP program.
Wow.
For 23, 24 years. Okay. The mission statement of community relations is to ensure that all residents in the city of Sanford are treated fairly and have equal access to opportunities in education, employment, housing, regardless of race, color, religion, sex, gender, or national origin. So here are our programs: our Community Development Block Grant Program, our YELDA program, which is a Youth Employment Leadership Development Academy, REEI, which is Race, Equality, Equity, and Conclusion, My Brother's Keeper, MBK, LIHEAP, Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. The My Brother's Keeper program is an initiative created by President Barack Obama in February of 2014 to address the disparities that boys and young men of color are faced with on a daily basis. Former President Barack Obama challenged communities of the nation to adopt 6 milestones to improve the outcomes of young boys and men of color. Those initiatives are creating a healthy start entering school, reading at grade level by 3rd grade, graduation from high school, ready for college, completing post-secondary education or training, successfully entering the workforce, and keeping kids on track and giving them second chances. Some of the highlights of the MBK program is we built relationships with other organizations, such as the Unity Youth Organization Association, Goldsboro Front Porch, Sisters Inspiring Sisters to Achieve Success, Westside Mentoring, and through those partnerships, our young men are able to go on college tours and civil rights tours. The increase in funding allows them to have more exposure to other activities. And some of those college tours was the Edward Waters University, Savannah State University. We have an annual Boys to Men banquet every year. About 180 participants were at the banquet last year. And again, I mentioned we participate in cultural and civil arts tours, civil rights tours. We went to Selma, Alabama, Memphis, Tennessee, Little Rock, Arkansas. Just to give you an idea, there are 70 students in the program this year at Sanford and Markham Woods Middle Schools. We have 5 mentors that are working in the program. We have our program manager, which is Britt Henderson, who was on loan to us from the Parks and Recreation Department. So we appreciate that partnership with Ms. Lisa Jones. And we have our Commissioner, Kerry Wiggins, who sits on, he's as a mentor at the schools. And we have 3 board members who are also mentoring at the schools this year.
So we have an active MBK program right now?
We do.
Oh. We need to tell that story a little bit more, Ms. Osborne. That's really great. I didn't know that it was active. I knew that there were different programs were happening, but I thought that they were maybe under Goldsboro Front Porch or UYA. I didn't know that it was actually under MBK.
Are those after-school clubs, or are they
MBK
classes?
Is during school.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. And a lot of the events are in the evenings and on the weekend in partnership with other organizations so that we can fund those programs. So here are some of the flyers of some of the events that we've done and some photos from our civil rights tours. So the photo on the bottom left is when the students went to the Freedom Monument Sculpture Park in Montgomery, Alabama. They walked across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And this was in Birmingham. I do apologize, I do not remember the name of the hotel that they visited. I also toured that, and on those civil rights tours that we do in partnership with myself, with the Peace and Justice Institute, the men in the My Brother's Keeper program pretty much mimics that same tour, and they go right after we do. So at the very top, you'll see some of the flyers from the programs that we've had, Black History showcases, and we do a lot of mental health workshops with the young men as well as the parents. So my next program is the Youth Employment Leadership Development Academy. We do that in partnership with the Goldsboro Front Porch, who administers the program. And last year, we had about 15 students that participated. And those employers who employed our youth during the summer is listed there: City of Sanford, Fawcett Therapy, True Value Drugs, Florida Specs, Unity Youth Association. And the students are juniors and seniors. They're employed throughout the summer. Last year we had 15. In the very first week of their training, they are given a gift card so that they can go to the store and purchase some clothing that they can wear in the office environment at work. And they also have training on how to set up a bank account, how to spend and save your money. And let's see, I think I said we have 70 students at Markham Woods and Sanford Middle Schools. College tours as well.
How do we fund that, Nikki?
I fund it out of my budget. And so I think this part is very important. These are our performance measures that we take at the end of every program. So last year I mentioned that we had 15 students. So 5 students enrolled in college full-time. 8 reported they were preparing to go to college. Those could have been some of the juniors in the program. 2 students were preparing to enroll in the military. 11 students reported having financial competency. 15 students reported no negative contact with law enforcement. And the very last bullet is very important. 15 of the parents reported that they have an increased involvement in their child's education since the child was enrolled in this program. My next program is the Race Equality, Equity, and Inclusion. We actually have an advisory committee. And some of our initiatives are fostering community engagement and awareness through dialogues and encourage deeper understanding of diverse cultures and experiences within the city of Sanford, evaluate city practices and services, and recommend actionable steps to eliminate disparities, and champion initiatives that support community-driven solutions and advocate for inclusive practice in public safety, economic development, and community services. And some of the things that we do every year, we host 2 community dialogues. We have 2 coming up, one tomorrow, Sanford Speaks, in partnership with the Mayor's Youth Council and the Police Department at the Civic Center. That program begins at 6 p.m. We would love for you all to attend in partnership with the Mayor's Youth Council again this year. You need me to give you more information about tomorrow's event? Got it. It's on
Sanford
our
Speaks is
calendars.
great, we love that.
Yeah, it's on our calendars. And then our next one for the year will be April the 6th, and that will be at the Dr. Velma H. Williams Westside Community Center. That one starts at 6:30, and I'll be happy to share more information about those. And we hope to see you there tomorrow. A few other events that we did last year. We did the MLK Festival in the park. We tabled there, and also we had a Goldsboro storytelling event, and that helped us with our project that I'll be talking about next. And we participated in Race Amity Day, and several members attended civil rights tours that Peace and Justice put together for us. And we received a lot of media attention just this last year. So we're featured in several news stories about our Goldsboro Historic Commemorative Quilt. And we were in a national story by the National Christian Science Monitor titled, How the Birthplace of Black Lives Matter Rebuilt Trust After Trayvon Martin's Killing. And we were recognized in Radiantly Black magazine and also featured on the West 2 news story about our quilt unveiling. And we were featured in the Central Florida Public Podcast. Spotlight on Sanford declares Goldsboro Day with art, apology, and new ways to unify. So here is a picture of our Goldsboro commemorative quilt, and thank you all for attending that event. It was great. We held it February 9th. And this quilt took our quilters, the 3 ladies pictured in the lower left. Britt is still trying to get the numbers to me, but we're looking at it at least 6 months. And the inspiration came from the planning department, Julie Schofield, historic preservation person, and the Public Art Commission. We work in partnership with the Public Art Commission. So we put this quilt together, and well, we didn't put the quilt together, but the ladies put the quilt together. But I felt like I was actually working on the quilt as much because it was a lot of work. So this is a photo of the quilt. You know, it's right outside the commission chambers here. If you haven't taken a close look at it, I invite you to do so. We are planning to have a shadow box around the quilt to protect it. And the photograph here is of descendants of the William Clark family, 3 generations of descendants here, along with our mayor who read the proclamation. He shared his family's history of the town of Goldsboro. So I just wanted to share that photo. That was a very, 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 very intense evening for me.
Mm-hmm.
It really was. It's very important. I don't want to get teary up for that. Okay.
Is there any plan to have a legend with the quilt that says what each of the squares signify?
Yes, so we do have a QR code right now that points to the UCF History Riches program, and we're building on that site where we do plan to have a legend with each quilt block. But right now, if you click on that QR code, scan the QR code, then you'll see the oral histories that we captured from that Goldsboro storytelling event that helped feed into the quilt.
There were so many people at the event, I couldn't get close enough to see that there was a QR code.
Yes, there is, right? It's framed alongside the proclamation.
Thank you, Nick.
Okay, so I am going to invite our program manager, Tiara Hardaway, to come up and tell you a little bit more about Community Development Block Grant.
All right, good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City staff. Good to see you all again. My name is Tiara Hardaway, and I am your CDBG, Community Development Block Grant Manager for the City of Sanford. And tonight I'm just going to share a quick overview of the program, how we've allocated those funds, and give you some examples of what has been done in 2025. Okay. So the Community Development Block Grant, which we call CDBG, is a federal program administered through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which we call HUD. The purpose of the program is to provide funding to cities like Sanford to support activities that primarily benefit low to moderate income residents and improve the overall quality of life within the community. The CDBG mission is to develop viable communities by providing decent housing, expanding economic opportunities, and creating sustainable living environments. And the city of Sanford itself is an entitlement grantee of CDBG funds, so that means that it gets its funding directly from the federal government. Okay. Allocation. So CDBG funds can support a wide variety of activities, including homeowner rehabilitation, home ownership opportunities, public facilities, public services, economic development, homelessness prevention, neighborhood revitalization, program planning, and administration. And so in October of 2025, the city of Sanford received an allocation of $437,000. These funds, along with other program income funds that were generated from the program, are distributed across the 8 program activities, as you can see on the slide, with majority of that funding going to our homeowner rehab program. And during 2025, the CDBG program served approximately 430 residents throughout the city of Sanford. The program primarily assists households that fall within HUD's income eligibility. So that's extremely low income, and moderate income persons. And as you can see from the graph here, that majority of the people that were served fall within that extremely low and that moderate income. And to provide some context for you, a family of 4 who is considered extremely low income would earn less than $32,000. All right, some examples. One of the most impactful components of our CDBG program is our housing rehab portion. This program helps residents address critical repairs that improve the safety and livability of their homes. The images that are shown here are an example of what it looked like prior to our funding. So the property here did not include a security fence, and they also had some areas of security safety that's on their doors that was deteriorated. So situations like this can present safety concerns and affect the overall quality of the homeowner. And so through the CDBG funding, the property received a fully newly installed fence surrounding the entire site, and we repaired those dilapidated hinges on that entry door. So these improvements helped increase security and improve the overall condition of the home. And projects like this allow residents to remain safely in their homes while also helping preserve Sanford's existing housing stock. All right, another example of the City of Sanford CDBG funds and how we're utilizing them, it is to support community infrastructure and neighborhood improvement projects through our public facilities program. So 2 recent projects that we're currently working through is the Goldsboro Trail Revitalization Project, which is on the left-hand side, and that improves the neighborhood trail that residents use for recreation and connectivity that extends from Coastland Park to the Oleander and Country Club Circle. And then the second picture here is the Georgetown Community Garden, which provides residents with a space to grow fresh produce and gather as a community. So projects like these help strengthen neighborhoods and create spaces that residents can actively use and enjoy. And lastly, for me, some upcoming opportunities and community engagement. So looking ahead, there are several opportunities for residents to stay involved in the CDBG program. In April of this year, so next month, the city will participate in the Community Development Week, which will highlight the impacts of the CDBG program. As part of this effort, the City of Sanford will host a Goldsboro Trail Beautification Day, and the residents are welcome to attend, and I'll have more information that will be sent out on that. Residents can also have input on the CDBG funds through attending our public hearings for the annual action plan the 5-year consolidated plan. They can also attend one of our monthly advisory board member meetings, and then they can also reach out to me directly through email. So the community participation is essential in helping guide these funds and how they're used for the Sanford residents. And in closing, the CDBG program continues to be an important resource that allows the city of Sanford to invest in housing improvements, community infrastructure services that directly support our residents. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions.
Thanks, Tiara.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, as Sarah has indicated, it is part of the federal government that we get our sense, and we recently received notification from the federal government. They've reviewed the action plan and that we've met all the requirements for it.
Good.
Thank you. Next is Lahi.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Maria Garcia Rivas, and I've been with the city 24 years and 3 months. And I would like to thank you tonight, all of you, to be here and give me the opportunity to speak about our program and the impact that it's going to cause this year to our community. The purpose of our program is, what is LIHEAP? The purpose is the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program helps eligible households pay for heating and cooling costs, ensuring families can maintain safe and healthy living conditions. Our goal is to ensure that vulnerable families, particularly the elderly, disabled, household with kids under 5 years old, and low-income household can maintain safe and healthy living conditions no matter the season. So the benefits type and maximum award. Home energy assistance, the maximum that they pay for the regular bill is $950. That helps eligible household pay the regular heating or cooling bills, prevent utility shut-off, and maintain safe home temperature. And I'm going to give an example. When the applicant come to apply for LIHEAP, and they come in with a regular bill, we determine their client qualification or the household qualification based on the federal guideline. And they can apply only once a year. It's only once a year with the regular bill. The crisis assistance, the maximum is $1,000. And this another program provide emergency assistance to prevent disconnection or restore service, address urgent situations such as shut-off notice, deposit, or gas service. This one is twice a year. So the applicant, the household, can apply one time for summer, one time for winter. And the maximum is $1,000. And I'm going to show you that last year for 2024, 2025, we held 2,100 households. This year, in 6 months, from October to March, we have been held 1,175 households, and that's including crisis and home energy. In 2025, 2026, we received $819,000 and $269 with 25 cents budget. With this budget, the 23.5% is for admin, and the 15% is for outreach. Outreach is what it pay the salary of our staff. The 23.5% of this budget that go to admin is $56,386. And for the outreach, which is salary for staff, is the 50% is only $99,600. So the remaining allocation go to the client assistant, which is $663,373 for the client assistant only. So if I provide you this graph where you can see the cities that we provide assistance, and you can see how much percent each city benefit of this program. And if you see Sanford is the bigger percent, is the city who eat the whole cake. And for that reason, I'm here tonight to tell you that we have to let go one staff. I'm going to be working with my program by myself, and I'm going to need support with you because we have to let go the staff. And Annette, which is here, is the outreach, who is the person who helped me. The last days is going to be March 31st. So in case that you receive any complaint for light heat, I'm going to be working with light heat by myself. I need your support. I'm going to do the best I can. I love my program. I know what people need in Sanford because I do home visit. And I see I did home visit like 2 months ago, and I went to these two different households, and I can see the need of disabled people who live in by themselves. Those people, they cannot use a car, they cannot drive, they cannot move. They, like you see Miss Arlene, she is in a wheelchair, she lived by herself. And that day I was with her, and if you see, she was looking all the information that she have to provide to apply for the program. Miss Willie, she lives in Sanford in Logan Heights. I visit her because her son is blind, and she also is in wheelchair. So those are the type of people or family that we help, and they matter. They matter, and I'm here today to calling you to support if you receive any complaints about any person. I'm working by myself. I love my program. I've been 24 years, and I want to finish my purpose of this program. Thank you very much. And I want to put this person talking. How can I do this? This is the video. Okay. Okay, but then for next time, I promise. Okay?
Gracias.
So thank you. De nada. Buenas noches. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, as Ms. Maria has indicated, the city gets the monies from the state to administer not for Sanford, but for all of Seminole County. And we've been doing that for a while. And unfortunately, the monies that we've been getting have decreased, where before it was almost 100% funded by the grant. We've now in the past couple of years had to fund it with general fund money. And as that continues to decrease, as she indicated, it calls for the have readjustment of staffing of that position.
Mr. Bonaparte, was that 23% accurate, or was it actually 0.23%?
There was a change. I saw that, and I was going to talk with Ms. Osborne about it because it didn't. Well, it didn't make, because you saw the lower amount and the higher amount, but the numbers did not correspond.
Can't be that high.
Yeah.
Where, on which slide?
23% administrative expense? Can't be that high.
23.5%.
Well, 23 can't be 56, and 15 can't be 99.
Correct.
So 23.5% is the total of admin and outreach combined. So we'll make that change on the slide. That's combined administrative and outreach.
Yeah. Because you want to have the right picture there.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Okay. Thank you all.
Are there any other questions on our program?
Yeah, can we go back to the breakdown of the LAHEEP program? Okay, so what, Yeah, all right, so if Maria had to let one person go out of the LAHEAP program, how long do you think that we'll be able to keep, the LAHEAP program with what it's looking like now?
Well, I do want to share with you that we did have 2 full-time employees and 1 part-time employee. When we received our funding for this year, Cindy advised that we need to let go of our part-time employee, which we did back in November, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And we were given an option in order to keep the program here in Sanford. We would have to either let go of another program, another employee, which was Annette, and just keep Maria, or look to move the program to Seminole County and keep both staff members. So what we were trying to do was keep both staff members, continue the program operating, and reach out to the county and see if the county would be interested in taking the program, since the program services all of Seminole County. We've reached out to Seminole County, the county manager. He's been in communication with Florida Commerce. Unfortunately, we have not heard anything back yet. So we're waiting to hear from them. But in the interim, Maria had a great idea, and we both really want to keep the program in Sanford, because you'll see the population that we serve here in Sanford is tremendous. In order to keep the program here at Sanford, Maria said that she'll run the program by herself. And Cindy informed us that there will be some extra funds available in the program, and then I'll help Maria as much as I can to support the program. But it definitely is going to be a challenge. It's already a challenge with 2 people as it is.
And there's no way, looking at the dollars that we have, to keep the additional person so that it is not such a heavy load on that? I mean, I've seen sometimes the line that's there, and that is a lot of paperwork. And then, you know, Maria is responsible for all of the supervisory administrative stuff, as well as all of the customer stuff. That's a very heavy load.
It is a very heavy load. So I don't have the exact number with me. Ms. Cindy can correct me, but the grant, the city would have to supplement $115,000 for the grant. So that would just be a decision between finance and you all, if you want to continue to supplement the grant for admin. And we don't know what next year's allocation would be. So where we are right now is we're going to keep Annette until the end of March. And then Maria is going to run the program by herself. And then July 1, we should get our additional funding. At that time, we will know if there's an increase or a decrease.
There's no way for the city to step in, these are just me brainstorming, to step in until we find out about the additional funding for July 1, because then it makes no sense for the one person to be let go. And then we find out we have some additional wiggle room, and now we've got to go back through the hiring process to put somebody back on. Have we thought of, and I'm not saying you haven't, Ms. Osborne, but I'm just saying, is Mr. Bonaparte, is there any way that we can step in here for that month? Or is that crossing?
I'd like to ask Ms. Cindy Lindsay to come, because at one point, as I said, it was funded wholly from the grant. The city over the last several years have had to add general fund monies to keep the program going. And what you're asking is, can we have more general fund monies to keep it going?
Yeah, because unless if I heard wrong, you were saying that we'll be able to see something in July. Could we extend it until we know about the new allocation of funds?
Well, the allocation we got for this year for admin costs was $155,000. It barely covers Maria's salary and whatever office expenses they have. What we've seen is that each year they're decreasing the amount of money they give us, not increasing. We could take the risk, but it would cost us, and I'm not sure where we get the money, probably $100,000.
For a month?
No, she has to be let go by the end of March. We don't even get our new money until possibly tell us in July. This year they didn't tell us until November. November.
So if we got April, May, June, July, it will cost us $100,000 for 4 months?
To pay for her for the grant money. The grant money that we use is for a year. So we budget for a year's worth of funds.
I know.
So, but the new grant only paid $155,000, which only paid Maria's salary and the office expenses. So it doesn't cover Annette's salary at all.
At all. So, but I'm asking, is it possible for us to cover for 4 additional months until we know, well, you said we don't even know if we'll actually get that in July.
Right, we don't know.
And 41% of the clients are not even in Sanford that we're supporting. Is that's unusual, isn't it? Do we
Well,
have
that's
other?
why I've had conversations with the county manager to have the county take it on.
Right, right.
Because it's a county program just administered and funded by the city of Sanford.
And if they don't take it on completely, this wouldn't be we couldn't do like an interlocal agreement where they help us
Well,
run.
it's state funds,
Yeah,
and it used to be by the county. And then years and years ago, before I was here, it then became the city program. And the city administered it for the entire county.
Is it, what? Isn't there a chance that some of that percent of Sanford is also county residents?
Yes.
Sanford is all county residents.
That's just not city of Sanford, it's
Right.
all unincorporated.
Thank you, Nikki, I'm glad you understood
But
what
I
I
would
said.
like to share something with you. As you see, there's a lot of percent in Altamont Spring, Castleberry, Longwood, and Oviedo. I suggest to see if you can, or someone can communicate with the city there and present that we help them, and they are part of Seminole County resident, and we provide an assistance to those cities. So if there is any way that we can talk to them and say, hey, the percent of Altamont Spring is 13% of our budget allocations. So I don't know if there's any way that we can present that to the city manager from those counties.
The individual cities. You're saying discuss
Yeah.
it with the individual cities.
Yeah.
So you're, all right, I'm just trying to clarify. So Castleberry, you're saying, let's have a conversation with Castleberry because 8% of, residents are getting assistance through this program. Okay, I just wanted, okay. I do have another question. So which I don't like programs going back over to Seminole County. I think it's great. It's a part of our story that we assist here at the city of Sanford. Plus, we did all of that to get the new office and everything here. That was an investment. I don't believe in that going away. But if it does, if we have to go to Seminole County and they administer the program, what happens to your position?
Does she become a Seminole County employee?
I did ask that, and I've been in touch with someone at Seminole County, and they've explored that option by asking me what was our current city employee's salary, how long have they been with the salary. So in my discussions, it is quite possible that they're highly likely they'll take Maria as a program manager.
But then there's a possibility not, and we have a vested employee that's been with us for 24 years, and I don't like that risk.
Yeah.
Right, so that's
Okay.
one
don't
of
want
the
that to happen.
reasons, outside of keeping the program in Sanford, why Maria and myself are willing to keep the program as long as we can fund the program, because she's very close to her retirement.
Okay, right, that's important, very
We wouldn't want
important.
her to lose that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Gracias.
Okay, any regular meeting items?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, the airport is here because they just enjoy coming to our
I
meetings.
was wondering,
Or because they have an agenda item on this evening. Do we have,
you can't just sneak in here
Do we
without an
have-
item.
do we want to have any discussion with them now? Do we have any questions about it, or do we want to wait until 7 o'clock? And do we really want to tell them they have to stay here through a long public hearing before we get to that item?
Yes.
No, we don't need.
No.
He don't.
Oh, wait, it's George, yes.
Even though I'm starving. Okay, we still have time.
So, any briefing items or city manager comments?
Only if you want to discuss the airport item during the work session.
I'm not hearing anyone saying they want to discuss it, including the airport.
Okay?
Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, Commissioner Britton, anything?
Yes, sir, because I don't want to have to make this coming at the 7 o'clock meeting, because I don't want anybody to feel bad. But, Mr. Bonaparte, it's so important. Our residents need communication that informs them, builds trust, and accurately reflects the work being done on their behalf. I'm going to ask you, sir, to look for ways to strengthen clarity in the information that is shared with the public. I find myself needing to frequently clarify and provide additional context to my district on the District 1 page. I'm just speaking for me and not for anyone else on the dais, but I have to do a lot of backtracking and explaining the messaging. It is so difficult to regain control of the narrative and restore public confidence. I know that there's always going to be negative Nancys and Neds and people who will spread misinformation, but we need to do as much as we can on our part. And I just want to give you an example of this new CRA amphitheater. Just the information that we put out just could have been better. And I thought that we did hire additional staff. That did not work out. But our messaging has got to be so much better. It's telling the story, and I spend a lot of my time going back and correcting information or saying it's more than this, it's less than that. Here's the additional information that you need. Can we please do better?
And the example you're using is the post for the CRA amphitheater.
Yeah, I got 100 examples, but I'm just going to give you this last one. Even just the presentation of just the picture alone of just, I'm only saying it publicly because I need to share it with the rest of the commission as well. I can go into further detail about how the presentation of everything actually is. It is not my intention to tear down staff, but I just needed the other commissioners to hear me as well. But I am speaking for myself.
Understood. Thank you, Commissioner.
I'll piggyback. I'm fine with this. The original post offers very little detail and explanation of why it's costing so much. It doesn't talk about the rehab needed to be done on Lake Corolla to save the museum. And so I think there's some good details that were left out. And so sometimes when we were broadcasting these projects, hey, look what we're doing, I think it needs a little bit more detail and explanation than maybe sometimes we're providing to our constituents for transparency. And also maybe perhaps the funding breakdown, et cetera, I don't know. But there needs to be some more details, I think, sometimes.
Because it came across as 5.6 million for the.
Yeah, just for the amphitheater, and that's, we look like we're just really crazy.
Yep, agreed. And maybe occasionally some education on color of money and what we can and cannot spend money on.
Yes. These funds have to be used for this
Correct.
purpose.
No, we cannot put
Just-
this money into a wastewater.
I don't want to go down another rabbit hole, just like the Channel 6 news story today that we're, the money being put into the wastewater project is going to get rid of the smell. No, it's to provide safe water, safe drinking water to our residents, not get rid of the smell. That's a different plant. It's called a wastewater plant. It's just, I don't know how these stories grow and happen. And that's a somewhat professional media source that messed that up today. So it's not just our own people.
But I certainly hear that the city needs to communicate better and more clearly and more details.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, Commissioner.
Anything else, Commissioner Britton?
No, sir.
Commissioner Wiggins?
I have nothing.
Commissioner Austin?
No.
Commissioner Thomas?
Nothing, but thanks for bringing that up, Commissioner Britton.
Are you going to make us be back down here at 6:30?
6:30. Why would we need to be here at 6:30?
Just to piss you off.
When is our, the extra meeting we're having?
Oh, the one I wish we could reschedule?
Is that the
28th?
28th?
Of March?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
That's sure.
Saturday, March 28th?
Very much so.
Oh,
Put it in the minutes.
And I know we talked for a while about redoing that, but.
What is it? I'm sorry, what is it?
We're having a work session, goal session.
Goal setting for the city manager.
Oh, it's for the city commission.
For, yeah.
No, for the commission.
Yeah, for the commission. On March 20, we've scheduled it for March 28th.
Hold on.
Well, while y'all are looking at your calendars and saying, oh, wait a minute.
I know about
you
it,
know,
but
last year, one of our topics was homelessness that we didn't really go anywhere with. And so if and when we have this session, a question I'm going to ask is if someone was to build a facility, where would we be okay with and what would it look like?
Not in Sanford.
And it won't be.
Oh, I said at that meeting.
Okay.
I'm just throwing the question out there so y'all can start thinking.
Okay, what,
If
give me a little more information.
That's all I-
Facility for what?
homelessness. It may be
Housing?
a shelter, it may be a service center, it may be whatever. If somebody was going to do that, not us, somebody, where would we see
The mall.
its location? So,
Altamont.
I just wanted to throw that out there. So,
Altamont.
are we good for the 28th?
Yeah,
Yeah, at your Saturday meeting like we did last
Yeah, it was the
year.
goal setting meeting.
9 a.m.
Yeah.
Claudia's down here saying,
I would rather it be
Hey.
another day, but it's only me, so. It'll be that day.
okay. I mean, we had our
you
enough
a
time.
no?
We had to go through 3 months
You're a
of
no?
dates to get to that one.
Oh, you're okay.
Okay.
Okey doke,
All right, we're adjourned.
Forever?
No, until 7.
Oh.
forever. Nice try, buddy.
I need